They're complete mommy's boys.
We're looking for a survey.
I'm going to contribute that to modern feminism.
Did you hear that, women? You don't have the authority over your own body. You don't. The trad wife, the new sensation among Zoomers. While Michael Knowles does an interview with 3 prominent YouTube women, we will see what they have to say about this emerging trend. Let's see what his interview uncovers.
When I was a boy, I was told there would never be a war between the sexes because everyone was sleeping with the enemy. And somehow that actually isn't true anymore. Somehow men and women are not sleeping together. I guess that's good if they're not married, but they're also not getting married and they're not having kids. There seems to be a spike in men hating women, a spike in women hating men, an abundance of dating apps, and yet a dearth of dating. So to help me, an old man, make sense of this, I have invited on 3 hip, cool, young Zoomer women. That would be Melanie Mac, Emily Wilson, and Savanah Stome. Ladies, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
So my friend Tomi Lahren has gone viral for talking about this problem and placing the blame at the feet of stay-at-home boys.
Leave it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness and social awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. They did much the same thing with quiet quitting, where you can go to work and do less, and if you call it quiet quitting, it's somehow better. But Laura, I gotta tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. You know, that's a big problem. They blame it on women. Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim.
Oh, Tomi Lahren. There's some aspects to like, some to dislike about what she's saying. I agree. Quiet quitting, that's garbage. It's just gobbledygook, right? I'm not a big fan of euphemisms. Just call it what it is. They're sheltered, probably the product of umbrella parenting. You shouldn't be staying at home till your mid-30s. Somewhere in your mid-20s, you should have already been on your way out the door. So I agree with her in that respect. But the whole thing about the pickings are slim, it's easy to look at the men from her perspective and say it's the men's fault. I wouldn't disagree in some respect, but it sounds like she puts 0 responsibility on women. I don't know. She comes off a little bit insufferable to me. I don't really care for her. And maybe that's a persona. I know it's a TV interview. It's a thing. She's got a brand and all that stuff. But behind the brand, you got to have some substance that actually makes sense. And I feel a lot of her stuff doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, that's all beside the point. Let's go on with the video.
Pickings are slim. It's all the boys' fault. It's not the girls' fault. Emily, what say you?
No, I'm with her on this. I'm not saying that there's not blame across the board. I don't even think it's a men hating women, women hating men. I think it's everyone hating each other problem right now, because I see it women against women, men against men. But she's right. I mean, I live in Beverly Hills. Most of the men around here come from money. They're complete mommy's boys. They stay at home until they're literally in their late 30s. And there's guys who walk around and they're TikTokers. I mean, she makes a lot of good points. I agree with everything she's saying. I don't ever put 100% blame on, but yeah, she's right. Men are also becoming a bit feminine.
Okay, so if you had to place the blame, you say it's not 100%. Is it 90-10, 75-25?
But I think it's 50-50.
50-50. Okay, so then it's not primarily the boys, it's the girls and the boys. Savanah?
Yeah.
I would say both, but I have a little bit of a different perspective because I live in the South. So most men are very masculine, they're manly, they go hunting, they provide for women. And I would say where I live, it's actually mainly the women, and I'm going to contribute that to modern feminism. Just the fact that they don't want to be traditional, they don't want to live this traditional life, but the men are looking for that. But they're struggling to find traditional women because modern feminism has told women that their career is more important than having a family.
Okay, so you're placing the blame more at the girls' feet.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Melanie?
I think it's 50-50. I do think it's a society problem, but I also have to say that if you live, so I live in Texas, and here in Texas, there's not this stay-at-home mommy boy epidemic going on for the most part, at least in the Bible Belt where I'm at. Men are masculine, they're working hard, and the women are feminine out here for the most part. So I think if you really want to get away from all of that, all of these, everybody want to be a TikToker, everybody want to be a Kardashian, because this is on both sides, then move somewhere that has good biblical values.
I agree 100%. So it looks like Savanah and Melanie. Looks like they are of the biblical mindset. There should be some biblical principles behind what they do and what they represent as far as being future wives. I think Savanah she said she's married. I think that goes a long way. I think Savanah is correct that feminism has been problem with the deconstruction of the family unit. It is put together to undermine the family unit, the nuclear family.
Okay, so that's a great point, but now we're at 50-50.
I think Savanah said she was a little bit leaning toward women being a little more responsible, and I would agree with her in this sense, that she should be looking at blaming women first because she is a woman. And what I mean by that, before you get all crazy and all triggered, I feel the same way that men are slightly more responsible. And the reason I feel that is because God has ordained the man to be the leader of the household. He was the first created, so he's the first, not in line in just leading the household, but in responsibility, meaning that the failure of the family unit lands square on his shoulders. He's the one responsible. It's not just about being a leader and moving forward in life and whatever. Go patriarchy. Because a great many things have come out of the patriarchy. Let's just be honest. So I agree with her. She should look at her own gender, at her own sex, female, and put a little bit more blame on it. Self-responsibility is what I'm seeing from her, and I think men should feel the same way toward men. You're a man, take responsibility for your position and your role that God has given you in the household.
Diplomatic, very nice, very complimentary, and very trad in many ways. But then how do you fix it? If you got the boys acting like girly men and you've got the girls acting sort of vacuous and promiscuous, then how are the two going to meet?
I'll just say about the promiscuity. I think it goes. This guy, he wants to be on camera so bad. I think it goes both ways. I don't think the men should get a free pass on that, and I'll cover that in a little bit. I'll cover that with some scripture.
I think you only fix this with God. You only fix this with biblical values. I think 100%. The reason why society has gone so chaotic like this, a huge reason why, is because people have, and society has steered away from these values. They normalized hookup culture, which is not good. This is why a lot of the youth aren't dating anymore, because that's not healthy at all. And then you've also 100%. Got a very selfish culture. Everybody wants to feel like they're the prize. And the problem with feeling like you're the prize when you're seeking a relationship is you're looking for a servant instead of an equal partnership where you're both putting in 100%.
So what's the practical advice? I mean, at least to the men. You know, maybe I could give practical advice to women, but what would you say to the men who are stay-at-home boys who can't get a girlfriend? What say you, Emily?
To get a job, move out. You don't need to be online. I don't think online is necessarily a place for men. I think it's a very feminine thing to do. And I just think men need to have, this is like a rabbit hole, because obviously, yeah, we've like neglected men, which, you know, some people can agree with, some people don't. But I just think, yeah, it's a big thing. It's going to be where they're raised, what they're raised by, what religion, what culture, what they're around. I mean, there's so many factors to it. There's literally no black and white answer. And if there was, we'd already have it figured out by now. But obviously there is going to be some aspect of embracing normal traditional gender roles. So it's like, yeah, I think maybe if men were out and working and not on TikTok, things would be a little bit better. But I don't know. I don't have a definite answer for any of these things. It's also culture. Things have changed. Also, it's so expensive out here most men are like, it would be insane to be like, how am I going to be a provider? You have to make millions and you still feel like you're at the poverty line out here.
So Emily brings up a couple of good points. Men need to be responsible. They need to get off of TikTok. And I don't know if being online is a feminine thing or not. I think what she means is like being an influencer and walking around with your selfie stick and doing stupid stuff like that. If you're doing something like what Michael Knowles is doing, I don't think she's referring to that. Get out, get a job, earn some money, be the leader of the household. I agree with that in that respect. And I do agree that times have changed, but what is the reason for that? Maybe we'll cover that in a little bit. But she brought up a good point about neglecting men. There will be a scripture that I'm going to cover that is applicable to what she's saying.
So what do you say? You say things have changed. That's totally true. I haven't dated since before dating apps existed, actually, believe it or not, because I married my high school sweetheart. And so I like just missed it, and I didn't have to deal with a lot of modern dating, even in my single years. So what do you do? Like, if you go out on a date with a guy, you say things have changed, it's hard out there, you got to be a zillionaire to get a wife. First date, does the guy pay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Always.
100%.
Every date.
Yes.
Every date.
Yes.
Okay. Does the guy open the door for the girl?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Does the guy expect any improper behavior that really should only exist between a husband and a wife?
No.
Of course, out here.
Yeah.
They shouldn't.
Hold on, wait. Is that of course yes or of course no?
They shouldn't.
Of course, yes.
They do expect it. Is that good? Should they expect it or they should not?
Whatever. I mean, I'm not going to demonize them. It's what most people do. So it is what it is.
But
Not
do you
promoting
think,
it.
I guess that's kind of getting to the point here, I think, because if the critique from the women is these men aren't acting like men and they're not being chivalrous and they're not, treating me like the sweet angel that I am. And then the critique from the men is, well, these girls are not behaving like dignified, modest women. They're on OnlyFans and they're, promiscuous or whatever. You can see how both sides got to that place, but
that brings up a good point. Now, here's the thing, right? So men can be promiscuous. They want to get to the finish line before they should. It's not just on them. That's they need to be better and not be that way. But on the flip side, women need to not devalue themselves. They do. The men see you as a prize, but if the prize is freely given, how valuable is that prize, right? You should be chastened, and you should see yourself as elevated above the earthly desires of men. You should aspire to be better, so that the man can aspire to perform better. To prove himself.
But then don't we need to raise the expectations and say, no, ladies, be modest. Men, don't be Casanovas.
Yeah, you got to raise it on both ends, though, which is very difficult because you also have to get women and men to both admit that they were slightly wrong, which no one wants to do because right now all we do is pin each other against each other. Oh, no, all the women, they're all on OnlyFans and they're all hoeing it out constantly. Oh, all the men, they're just, feminine TikTokers. Like, you got to get to a middle ground. Like, yeah, is it great for every woman out here to be on OnlyFans? No, it's a little crazy because, look, it is kind of sex work. It's kind of prostitution.
Oh, it absolutely
I would say
is.
more than kind of. Yeah,
it is 100% prostitution.
Yeah, but also when you have all these men that just go through women because they have unlimited options, and this is what most girls are, and they're like, yeah, I want a good girl. But then they say they want a good girl, then they meet the good girl, and they cheat on them anyway. So it's just it's a very difficult thing that's going to take a long time to try to figure out, honestly.
So let's just hold it right there, and we'll save the rest for the next video. But before we do that, I promised you a few answers, biblically speaking. So let's go to those. Principles for marriage. Imagine that. The Lord had an idea of how he wanted marriage to be. Now, concerning the matters which you wrote, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. So to what Emily was saying, to what Michael was saying, I kind of touched on it a little bit. This is to say that men should not be going out carousing around, putting numbers in their little black books and getting their cred from their buddies who are doing the same thing. This is talking against that. But because of the temptation to sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband. So there it is. There's the foundation, right? Neither one should be. The man shouldn't be on TikTok. He shouldn't be going to the bars and picking up ladies who are intoxicated and compromised, and the men should not be compromising their own values. They should hold up a certain amount of integrity, as should the woman, and in treating herself as the treasure that she is. Okay, verse 3, the husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife to her husband. So that means you give each other what each other wants, sexually speaking. I mean, that's just what it's saying, right? That means you guys should want to have relations with each other and no one else. That's it. That's where the problem is. We fixed the problem of divorce. We fixed the problem of promiscuity, infidelity. All that stuff is fixed if you just apply what is written here. If you just listen and read what it says and do what it says, you have a recipe for success in relationship, marriage, and raising kids. Let's go on. 4. For the wife does not have authority over her own body. Did you hear that, women? You don't have the authority over your own body. You don't. And likewise, the wife to her husband. Oh, wrong part. But the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. All that is saying is that you're committed to one another. You are in service to the other person. Don't get all weird. It's not like that. But it's just that you tend to each other's needs. Likewise, the husband does have... Okay, so verse 5. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer. So the only reason you're taking a break is so that you could be in prayer. See, because you don't take a break and then go off and sulk and be a sad sack. You go off and you pray together, and then come together once again, so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So what's that? What's the purpose of that? Don't withhold from one another. You don't want to get in a situation where you're neglecting each other's needs, because temptation from Satan will allow you to have thoughts and temptations towards others. And if you just abide by what is written here, you'll have a successful relationship. So Ephesians 5:22 starts with, wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. The husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. That's not saying that the husband is Christ, but the husband, from his perspective, should aspire to be Christ-like and to protect his church, which is his wife. So when I said earlier that the responsibility lies more on the man, this is the reason why. Because the man bears the responsibility, and this is what I'm getting at. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands. So here in 25, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word. Okay, there's a lot in this. So the first part right here, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. What does that mean? So if we're looking at the example of Christ, in order for him to protect and save his church, he gave up his own life. That's what that means. So that's why I feel the responsibility in relationship and marriage, the responsibility falls more on the husband, because he has an obligation as the leader of the household, as God has given it to him, to be the leader all the way unto death. He should defend his wife to the grave. Isn't that what it says? That is what it says. But here's another part, that he might sanctify her by cleansing her by the washing of water with the word. So Is that saying that he needs to be leading his household by biblical standards? It sure is. That's exactly what it's saying. So Melanie and Savanah are both correct. The man should be leading the household. They were speaking in terms of you should be in a godly relationship together, but the man is at the forefront. He is the head of the household. So he is the more responsible party, in my opinion. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here, and then let's reconvene in a few days, and I'll do another video, a part 2, because they get into the more of the trad wife and their opinions. Each one of the ladies on the panel there will give their opinions on what they think about this trad sensation. So as always, like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. God bless, and I love you.